Hi, today I'm going to teach you how to do flat odd count peyote stitch. Odd count peyote stitch is a great off loom bead weaving stitch to learn if you want to have a nice center point to your beadwork. Today we're going to be using a cylinder bead, and this is the size 10 Delica bead, which is a little bit larger than what I have here in the bracelet. In the bracelet that I'm showing, we have a size 11 Delica bead. So I'm just using this so that you can see it a little bit larger on the video. I've got a size 11 beading needle. I've got Zuron thread cutters, and I'm using the Fireline braided bead thread in the black satin, and I have the 4-pound here for us to use. All right, let's get started. All right, so to start, I've got about 5 feet of thread strung up here on my needle. And I'm just going to pick up one of these gold beads and loop through this. This is just going to be our stop bead at the end. And our stop bead is just there to hold some tension. Now, if you've never done, so I'm just looping my thread back through to tie that on. And this is going to come off at the end. And I'm just working on a little sample piece here to show you how to do the odd count peyote, but you would probably want to leave about a 6 to 12 inch tail here, depending on how you're going to finish off your piece at the end. For today, I've just got about 3 inches here. And if you've never done peyote stitch, you probably would want to start with our even count peyote stitch tutorial. We're going to be working on odd count peyote stitch, and the difference is that you get a nice center point when you're working on odd count peyote stitch, but you also have a different turn on one side of your work. So with your even count peyote stitch, you have 2 even turns, and they're very similar. I'm going to pull in the piece that Cody worked on for our tutorial so you can see how that will kind of work up. And so this is even count. We're going to be doing odd count. And with odd count, you have an easy turn on one side, and then on the other side, you don't have an anchoring point when you go through with your last bead in a row. And so you have one side where you have a harder turn that you have to work on. And so if you've never done peyote stitch, go back and start with our even count peyote stitch tutorial, and then come back and learn how to do odd count, and it'll be a lot easier for you. Okay, let's get started though. So if you're ready to get started on odd count, the first thing you need to do is pick up an odd number of beads, and I'm just going to use kind of the same colors as we used in our even count tutorial, and I'm picking up every other color. I'm gonna get 9 beads here. Okay, and those are gonna come down to my stop bead here. And with peyote stitch, you have your up beads and your down beads, which you'll see as I'm starting. So when I string up this first 9 beads, that's actually my first 2 rows of peyote stitch after I get this 3rd row starting. So I'm starting on my 3rd row. I'm going to pick up the same color as what I'm going over here. So I'm picking up a cream bead, and that's going to stack on top of this cream bead right here. And so I'm skipping over this cream bead, and I'm going through the turquoise bead here that's on my string, and I'm going to pull this tight. And that is going to start creating my up and down beads. You can see, so this is an up and this is a down. And we're just going to keep on picking up cream beads as we stitch all the way across this row, and we skip over that next cream bead and go through the turquoise. And so you can see how that is starting to stack up there. Okay, and I'm going to pick up another cream bead. This one's going to sit on top of this one here. So I'm just going to skip over that bead and go through the next turquoise bead here. And peyote stitch, you can see it kind of stacks like bricks almost. And your cylinder beads are a great way to start working with peyote stitch because they stack and kind of click in so nicely to each other. So I just picked up another cream bead. I'm going to stack it on top of that guy by skipping over it and going through the turquoise bead. Okay, so this is where we start with our difficult turn. And so I'm going to pick up one more cream bead. This is going to be the last one in this row, but I don't have a place to anchor it into. So instead of anchoring it across like I've been doing with the rest of the beads, I'm going to weave back down through the bead that it's stacking on top of. And pulling my thread tight, and you'll see, getting that guy into position. So you can see that it is stacking on top of that bead there. And now to continue and keep on doing peyote stitch across this way, I need to be coming out of this bead right here, heading in this direction towards the right. And to do that, I need to come in here and anchor my thread. So I'm going to weave this thread back through this turquoise bead here, down through this cream bead. Then I'm going to turn and come back up through this cream bead, back through the turquoise, down through this bottom cream, and then up, back through, turning and finally coming out where I want to come. So you have this kind of turn that you need to make that's a little bit more difficult when you're working with an odd count. So I'm going to just show you how to do that right now. And so I kind of just angle my needle down, and I'm going through two beads here at once. There you go. And now I'm turning, and if you can, sometimes you can just angle your needle down and go through all three of those beads at the same time. And that helps cut down on the threading. And now I'm ready to turn again and come back up this bead, which is the one that I just anchored on, the last bead in the third row. All right, so that's our first hard turn that we just did. Okay, now I can continue on doing peyote stitch all the way across, and I'm going to pick up turquoise beads again for this row. So I'm picking up a turquoise bead, which is going to stack on top of the turquoise bead in the row below it, and I'm just going through all of the up beads in this row. So you can see that the cream beads are stacking up and allowing me to easily go through their hole and add a bead to the next row. And this is the fourth row that I'm working on here. Okay, so you can see I just pick up a bead and go through them all the way across. And we're going to turn and do the same thing going across this way, and I'm going to pick up cream beads here for this whole row again. I'm getting some stripes going in my beadwork. Just picking up the cream bead and going through my turquoise beads all the way across. Okay, and I'm on to my last cream bead that I'm adding, and you can see again I have no place to anchor this, and so I need to do the hard turn again. And so I'm going to angle down and go through 2 beads here, so my cream and my turquoise, and that's going to pop it up into place, and then I'm going to turn and angle down through my beadwork through my turquoise and my cream again, coming out the edge. And then I can turn and go back up, oops, so that my thread is coming out in the correct position to peyote stitch across this way. Great. So we're going to keep on going. I'm going to try to start making a little bit of a pattern here. So I'm going to pick up a cream bead instead of a turquoise bead. And then I'm going to continue with my pattern for the next 2 beads that I already started. And I'm going to start making a V here in the colors that I'm adding, so you can kind of see that you can get a nice point to your beadwork when you're working on odd count. I'm going to pick up this cobalt blue color next. And we do have great graph paper that you can print out, and so you can draw and color in and work on graphing out a pattern if you want to do some pattern work with your peyote stitch. Okay, so my edge bead here is going to be this cobalt blue that I just started adding, and again I have to anchor this guy on by doing the hard turn. So I'm going to come through 2 beads here on the side and pop that guy into place, and then I'm going down 2 beads, and that anchors that cobalt guy in, and it allows me to turn and be coming out so my thread path is right. Okay, now I'm going to put a cobalt on, cream, now I'm going to pick up a turquoise. That's going to be my new color. So I'm just making a little bit of a stripe here in my color work. Oops. There we go. Sorry. Okay, and here's my hard turn again. Focus on that. So we're going to go down the cobalt and the cream bead in a diagonal there. And then I'm going to angle back down through these 2 cobalt. Pull everything tight. And then turn and go back up my cream. Alright, and I'm just going to go across and keep adding in my pattern that I've started. You can start to see the V's here. Oops, kind of made a knot in my thread here. Go. Okay, this is the easy turn. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a cream again. My last cobalt to make a nice V. You can see that point starting. Pick up the cream again, and here's another hard turn. So we're going to go diagonally through the turquoise and the blue beads here. Turn and go back through these two cobalt and turn so that I'm coming back out the cream bead that I just anchored on. Okay, we're going to just do one more row here. So I'm picking up my cobalt, my cream. You're going to see the point here on the turquoise, the cream, and the cobalt, and I'll anchor this guy on. Again, we're going to go down diagonally through two beads. Turn and go diagonally down two beads there, and then turn through that bead that we just anchored on. And that is how you do flat odd count peyote stitch. Okay, so I've kept stitching and you can really see that point starting to form in our odd count flat peyote. You can find all the supplies to learn this stitch and more at Fusion Beads.